Superstar defensive player of the year caliber. Defensive ends don't hit the market often. If Micah Parsons is truly available, we'll see if he is or not. Should the Seahawks be viewed as the favorite to acquire him? We're going to be breaking it all down here on our Blue Friday edition of Locked On Seahawks.
You are Locked On Seahawks, your daily Seattle Seahawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, 12. This is Corbin Smith, host of the Locked On Seahawks podcast, your daily Seahawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Glad to be joined here on Blue Friday by my co-host, Nick Lee. It's the first show I've done all week with a co-host. It's really nice to have a co-host here on Locked On Seahawks. A special thanks to each and every one of the 12s tuning in, whether you're in Spokane, Washington, or Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We appreciate each and every one of you, and thank you for making Locked On Seahawks your first listen 5 days a week. There's a superstar pass rusher that may or may not potentially be on the market, available for trade. We're going to be discussing whether Micah Parsons should be a Seahawk trade candidate and where the Seahawks fit as far as the favorites to acquire the perennial all-pro pass rusher. Plus, we've got takeaways from day 9 of Seahawks training camp, and we're going to be chatting with Jake Bobo from the VMAC. Really fun interview that we'll be playing here coming in our training camp series. Without further ado, let's get to it. Now for your lead story here on our Blue Friday edition of Locked On Seahawks. It's not often that a superstar, and we're talking one of the biggest superstars in the entire sport in the NFL, it's not often that a player of Micah Parsons' caliber, who is in the prime of his career, potentially becomes available for trade. Today, Micah Parsons on his social media account announcing he no longer wants to be a Dallas Cowboy. And look, Nick, from the outside, I don't cover the Cowboys, obviously, but I've been paying very close attention to this, just with the outside, the peripheral chance that maybe something like this could happen, because Jerry Jones has been making a lot of negative comments in public about his best player, and that just makes absolutely no sense why you would do that, but that's what Jerry Jones has done. Micah Parsons is tired of that. He's tired of the lack of negotiations, the lack of involvement with his agent. He's just tired of the entire process, and this felt like more than just a trade request. I mean, a lot of times we hear about guys that do it behind the scenes, like Micah Parsons had. It felt like a novel that he put on social media explaining his rationale. Now, maybe the Cowboys come sweeten the deal and say, hey, here's some money that'll make you change your statement. And we've seen that happen before. But let's just assume that Micah Parsons is available and that Jerry Jones reaches a point where he says, you know what, let's see what we can get in a king's ransom for him. Before we even talk what the return package could be like, in terms of favorites out there, I've seen the Cardinals being thrown around as a team that would make a lot of sense. I've seen a handful of teams, the AFC, that have been thrown around. Buffalo being a team that I've seen some discussion about. There's a number of contenders in the AFC, which is out of conference for the Dallas Cowboys, that would make sense. I've seen a few people mention the Washington Commanders because Dan Quinn's there. Why would Jerry Jones trade him within the division? I can't see that happening. Look, I'm curious on your thoughts, but this is, and I'll explain in a second why I feel this way, but I think the Seattle Seahawks, if I'm putting together a ranking list of potential suitors, if Micah Parsons is actually available, I don't think there's two teams in the league that have a better case to be able to go get him and would be a better fit in terms of assets, the defense that they're using, the coach that they have. I think any ranking that has them outside of the top 2 that doesn't include the Dallas Cowboys keeping him, I think that's tomfoolery. I don't think there's any way that the Seahawks should be any lower than that, personally. And I'll explain in a second, but I'm curious on your thoughts first here.
Well, first off, as the son and brother of diehard Eagles fans, I've been sent many memes today about they're taking much pleasure in this, and they're sending me the one tweet I saw where it's an Eagles fan saying, "Can we find a way to like medically keep Jerry Jones alive for the next 50 years because it's certainly been helping the Eagles and the NFC East." What an absolute circus that's over there. And if you're talking about just the teams that could line up, yeah, I keep telling my dad, who's a diehard Eagles fan, like, don't get your hopes up. There just seems like no way. I know he's like a Philly guy, Penn State. That makes a lot of sense, but there's just no way the Cowboys would play ball with the Eagles there. That would be quite scandalous and one of the bigger, controversial trades of all time. And I've seen also in the chat saying, the Cowboys say they have no intention of trading him. Well, what if he sits out? He's got a little more leverage than people think. And as far as the Seahawks side goes, you talk about they have some things lining up. You mentioned the assets. The Seahawks have, between next year and this year, top 7 of cap space in both years. They have decent cap space in both years. They got all, they haven't mortgaged any huge draft picks in the future. So they have all their drafts are intact still from any trades they might have made. And so between cap space and draft picks and money, and also you have one of the more, one of the rising defensive head coaches in the NFL. They don't necessarily have a history together, like you mentioned with Dan Quinn, but just if you're looking for a place that has all those assets and also a head coach that seems to be forming into a defensive specialist head coach that is building something special in Seattle, I don't know how you don't have in the Seahawks inside the top 5. Fox NFL released their who they think might be the favorites. Seahawks aren't even in the top 10, which was shocking to see. And in fact, the other NFC West teams were, and I was very, very shocked. Eagles and Patriots are the top 2 besides the Cowboys. Of course, there's always the possibility this can be completely changed tomorrow with a new deal. Money talks, like we like to say. Parsons can still, I'd still, if I were a betting man, I'd still wager he is a Cowboy, but things could get ugly. So yes, I know he's saying, the Cowboys are saying, we have no intention of trading him. It's August 1st. There's a long way to go in this kind of battle. And I think if it does truly turn into we have to trade him, the Seahawks are set up about as good as anybody. And as far as need, you make room for a Micah Parsons. We can slot you in there somewhere, young man. I think we'll find a spot for you. And it's like, so-and-so is reportedly interested in Micah Parsons. That is saying like, Sidney Sweeney is single, ex-single guy is interested in Sidney Sweeney. I mean, that's just that is obviously what's going on. So Micah Parsons would fit any defense. He's that versatile, that athletic, that special. The Seahawks should be near or at the top of the list of suitors not named the Cowboys.
And there's a couple other reasons why I think that this would just make too much sense for both sides. And look, there's going to be people out there that say, well, DeMarcus Lawrence doesn't like Micah Parsons and they played in Dallas together, whatever. Look, those two guys played just fine together in Dallas. And the rift came from DeMarcus Lawrence making some of the comments that he made after he signed with the Seahawks about feeling like this was a better chance for him to compete for a championship. And Micah Parsons didn't like that. Well, if Micah Parsons becomes a Seahawk, then yes, their chances of competing for a championship are much higher with both those guys on the roster. And I look at the fact that Uchenna Nwosu is going to likely start the regular season on the PUP list of the way things are trending. And maybe he will be healthy for week 1. Who knows? But it's trending there right now that he's going to miss at least the first 4 games. And he's had so many injuries. Boye Mafe's a free agent after this year. DeMarcus Lawrence is 33. This is a good group, but if I have a chance to go get the best edge rusher in the NFL, and the best sack artist, 62.5 sacks in 4 seasons, and he's averaged 23 or 24 quarterback hits a year. The guy is just a freak getting after the quarterback. And we know that Mike McDonald loves guys that you can move around the formation. Parsons can do that. He can rush equally well from both sides. You can line him up an A gap and have him blitz. I mean, you can do all kinds of fun stuff with Micah Parsons. This is the kind of guy that Mike McDonald dreams about. And so, look, you have that. You have Adam Durday as your defensive coordinator. Adam Durday is very close to Micah Parsons from their time in Dallas together. So maybe he's not Dan Quinn, but this is a guy that has coached him and had a lot of success coaching him in the past. So I think that it makes too much sense. If the Cowboys end up entertaining this, the issue is going to be how much you have to give up. I think 2 first-round picks and a day 2 pick is probably the minimum to get him.
That's to get at the table.
That's how do you get a seat at the table. Exactly. So, and then you got to give out a $30+ million per year contract. But Micah Parsons is worth all of this. That's the thing. He's 25 going on 26. He is not a aging pass rusher. He is in the heat of his prime. he is on pace to put together one of the best seasons by a pass rusher in NFL history. Like, he's a movable chess piece. This just screams John Schneider has to be. I mean, you get $35 million cap space right now. You've got tons of room next year. Go make the move. And I would be pestering Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones. I'd be pestering their nephew. I'd be pestering any Jones that I can pester to try to get Micah Parsons. I'm doing it.
Absolutely. And the low-hanging fruit here is, of course, the Khalil Mack trade. That was two first rounders, a third rounder, and a sixth rounder. I'm talking the Raiders and the Bears trade, and then the Bears sent, or the Raiders sent Khalil Mack and a seventh rounder and a second rounder. So lots of picks going back and forth. Two first rounders, I think, it gets you a seat at the table. Interestingly, though, I was looking at the stats, like comparing the first 4 years of Khalil Mack, first 4 years of Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons has him in just about every category. I know that Mack got the Defensive Player of the Year, but he had, I think it was 40 and a half sacks his first 4 years, and an approximate value in Pro Football Reference, so that's like their WAR for baseball, of 49. Parsons had 52 and a half sacks and an approximate value of 60 in his first 4 years. So been significantly more productive than Khalil Mack before that trade. So two firsts and I think a third rounder might even that might be the fee you pay the bouncer to get inside the club.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. It's going to be expensive, both in money and in draft picks. And yet this is not, no offense to Jamal Adams, because before the injuries, I think he was a really, really good football player. But this is the trade that you give up 2 first-round picks for, to go get Micah Parsons. Like, he's that kind of a talent, a guy that can win Defensive Player of the Year any given season. And I just think you put him with Leonard Williams and the rest of the talent of that defensive line. That is a murderer's row. So this is a Seahawks fan's dream. I think he's a Dallas Cowboy next year. That's my prediction. I think he's going to stay. But if this becomes a untenable situation and a trade opens up, I think the Seattle Seahawks have as good of a chance as anybody to get Micah Parsons. So if it isn't the Cowboys, I would not count the Seahawks out at all. I'd have them at the top of the list and think that would be a prime location for him. When we come back, training camp practice number 9 in the books. We're going to discuss a few takeaways from today's practice at the VMAC. Don't go away. You're listening to the Blue Friday edition of Locked On Seahawks. This episode is brought your way by our friends over at Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO. You have full visibility and control of your finances. And Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, your investments, your spending, all in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I first started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on subscription services. Now I'm budgeting smarter. I'm saving more for other expenses that pop up in my life. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can now track, share in a personal account, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Welcome back to the Blue Friday edition of Locked On Seahawks. This is your host, Corbin Smith. He's Nick Lee. A special thanks to all the 12s who are tuning in. And thank you, as always, for making Locked On Seahawks your first listen 5 days a week. We greatly appreciate it. The Seahawks back on the practice field today. The first time since the opening week that we had seen them just in an OTA-style practice. No pads, helmets on, though. But it was a pretty physical, a pretty active practice for a non-padded one. We got one-on-ones, offensive linemen, defensive linemen. There were one-on-ones with receivers and cornerbacks. So it was still a pretty physical, pretty aggressive practice, and it was the longest practice they've had in this entire training camp. Let's talk the receiver position, Nick, because we know the two big moves this offseason, DK Metcalf getting traded to the Steelers, Tyler Lockett getting released as a cap casualty. A lot of questions about where the Seahawks are going to get their big plays through the air vertically? Who's going to be the receiver that can stretch the field? Marquez Valdes-Scantling has done that in his career, but the guy that is starting to emerge now that he's fully healthy, we got to see it today, and being at training camp every day this week, he has been building up to this. Tory Horton has had a really good week for the Seattle Seahawks, and he's starting to get reps with the twos, and today I got to see him get some reps with the first team. And what did he do with his opportunities? He had 2 touchdown catches today, 1 and 7 on 7, which is a one-handed grab. You can see it on the Seahawks social media account. They posted about 30 minutes ago. It was an incredible catch. And the other one coming in the team period from Drew Lock, fully extended, going down the seam, snagged it on his fingertips and reeled it in, and then took off for a 38-yard touchdown. So you got to see the big playability. Both these touchdowns were deep balls, big plays, and you can see the after the catch ability on the first one. I have been really excited about this kid since I watched him light up Travis Hunter in Colorado a couple years ago. If not for his injury, he's easily a day 2 top 90 pick. Seattle gets him in the 5th round because of the injury. He's now healthy. This guy has a chance to be a huge contributor for this team as a rookie, not just as a receiver, but as a dynamic kick and punt returner as well. I think you're going to start seeing Tory Horton be the next rookie. You have Gray Zabel, Nick Emmanwori. He is the next rookie that hype train now has already left the station.
Yeah, you see the teammates, his teammates tooting the horn for him. That video of Sam Darnold tossing that beautiful spiral that's cutting through the slightly smoky air over there at the VMAC and finding those hands of Tory Horton, and just a chef's kiss video. And yeah, taking reps with the first team, just making an impression. I think the word that I've seen it tossed a few times around now by reporters, you guys on site, is trust. It looks like he's earning a bit more trust, kind of getting into the rhythm of things. And I don't think there's really any, after JSN and Cooper Kupp in the receiver room, there is no guarantees. And we've already made the comparison to Marquez Valdes-Scantling to Tory Horton. Does Horton rise to the level of making MVS expendable or redundant to keep on the roster? Because I think we both can agree there is a bit more dynamic abilities with Horton at this stage of his career, being a rookie, and with special teams impact as well. Another guy that I thought I kind of am seeing a little bit too as he's rising. I'm seeing actually video of him and watching more film of him. He's got a little George Pickens to him. Hopefully not without, hopefully sans the non-receiver things that's going on sometimes with George Pickens, but just the pure football ability and receiving ability. There's physical buildup. But man, it looks like he's earning the trust, and I think his ceiling could eventually be wide receiver 3 on this depth chart. I'm not saying he's going to do that week 1, but clearly the word I'm seeing being thrown out more and more is trust. And as we've seen, NFL quarterbacks, they love building trust with those receivers. And if Sam Darnold can truly build that trust with Horton, we're going to see him get some targets probably pretty early on in 2025.
And it's interesting that you mentioned the making MVS expendable. Like, I think that he is on the roster in week 1. I think he's cemented on there. But I'm going to say this because looking in the comments, there's a couple of you asking about Derek Young, who had a big day on Tuesday. He had another touchdown today. Drew Lock, what a beautiful throw that was. It was tight coverage, lofted it right over the shoulder, dropped in the bucket. But that's a hard play for a receiver to make. It's a Willie Mays type thing. And Derek Young hauled it in and got both feet down in the corner of the end zone. He has scored 4 touchdowns now, Nick, in the last 3 practices. I don't think that he had more than 1 or 2 touchdowns his entire career on the practice field. And so he is earning the trust of the quarterbacks here. We've seen Sam Darnold throw to him a little bit. Drew Lock's gotten most of those reps with him. But Derek Young has always had the physical tools. We've just been waiting and waiting and waiting. So, he's a different kind of receiver. He's got running back ability too. And you could do the jet sweeps with him. So if Tory Horton ends up passing MVS, this could be a case where Derek Young and Jake Bobo are both on the roster because they're different style receivers. And they bring different stuff to the table. And both are excellent special teams players as well. Let's talk offensive line here for a second. Everybody's been looking at the center competition and the right guard competition. And I think these 2 competitions are going in different directions in terms of getting to that point second preseason game where you could name a starter. Center, I think the starter is named. The last two practices, Oluwatimi's gotten 95% of the reps, even though he did not play well 2 days ago. No center on Seattle's roster. You could have pulled Max Unger out of retirement and he would have been airmailing snaps yesterday. Like, it was just one of those days. It was contagious. But today we got to see the Seahawks centers out there looking much better. And Oluwatimi got almost all the reps with the first team. That feels to me like it's Drew Lock against Geno Smith all over again, where, well, there's a competition. I don't think there's a competition there. I think it's Olu's job. But then right guard, Anthony Bradford's reemerged here this week. He was getting just second team reps all the first week, and now today he was the one that got most of the right guard reps. Jalen Sundell is still getting quite a few there. Christian Haynes was just all second team today. So it feels like, and Satawa Lamea got some right guard reps early this week. Like, that still feels like it could be a 3 or 4 horse race, and nobody is pulling away at right guard. So you have two totally different situations there to monitor with the Seahawks offensive line, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to feed the haters for a second here with the guard spot. I was just looking before the show. I know we were going to talk guards. Of the 77 guards in the NFL last year, Corbin, with at least 300 pass blocking snaps, 2 Seahawks were below 71st in pass blocking efficiency. Anthony Bradford was 72nd, and Satawa Lamea was dead last 77th in pass block efficiency. So they had 2, literally, that's hard to do, to have 2 of the 77 worst pass blocking guards in the entire NFL on your same roster. So this is going to be a sore spot for Seahawks fans until there is results on the field, because we're talking about the same cast of characters, Corbin. We're talking about Anthony Bradford, who last year I called half a guard. He was pretty good at run blocking, an absolute wet tissue paper on pass block.
That hasn't changed.
And unfortunately, it doesn't look like that hasn't changed much. And Jalen Sundell, like you mentioned, is getting some snaps. Christian Haynes has been a no-show on the first team, like you mentioned. This is not like a competition, like, oh yeah, iron sharpening iron. This is whatever the opposite of iron sharpening iron is. I don't know, is that like 2 Beanie Babies rubbing up against each other or something? I don't know what it is. But that's the right guard spot, man. It is tenuous. It's not exactly inspiring confidence, because there's certain position battles, we've seen it, where it's like, yeah, this is a good problem to have, picking between a couple. No, this is the opposite of that, man. It's tough.
It really is.
It's tough to really twist this into a positive light. This competition. I do have some hope for Olu at center. That's the one I've really wanted to see. I wanted to see him get some leash there at center. I'm hoping that happens. But the right guard spot is troubling, to say the least.
Let's finish with a positive real quick, because there's always reason to talk about Nick Emmanwori, and he provided even more sparks today. I think he had his best practice so far, which is saying something, because he had 2 interceptions earlier in the week, but just a couple plays that jumped out from him. And it's funny, you guys will see this in the interview. We're going to talk about Nick Emmanwori a little bit with Jake Bobo, but this guy just oozes swagger. And he just feels like a guy that you could have just thrown into the Legion of Boom and he would have fit in perfectly. And today he had an interception where Elijah Arroyo, he was defending him, and both of them were running stride for stride down to the end zone on a deep ball. Arroyo got a fingertip on it. Ball ends up deflecting off, and guess who rolls over and then gets his hands underneath it and picks it off in the back of the end zone? Nick Emmanwori. He had a play where they tried to run a jet sweep with Zach Charbonnet, and Charbonnet started turning the corner, and then suddenly there's this huge, really tall safety wearing number 3 that comes sprinting from the other side of the field that cuts him off before he can even turn upfield. It was incredible speed, 4.3 speed, legitimate, showing up there. And he also had a pass breakup, manning up Eric Salbert, a big body tight end, and knocked the ball out of his hands, and then kind of told him what was up after he made that deflection. He is just, I'm sorry, he is so much fun to watch, and I'm going to keep building that hype, because the guy every day is just delivering. I don't know how Mike Macdonald's going to get this guy off the field. I really don't.
And it is, I know this is very dangerous, but the Witherspoon, especially reading about like Witherspoon and Emmanwori, like clearly they're feeding off each other's energy, especially with the crowd there. It's got a little bit of Sherman.
They're peas in a pod, dude. Those guys are next to each other all the time.
It's got a little Sherman Cam, like, the energy, just the juice on the field. And just reading into it, like you said, it's hard to pump the brakes on a guy like Emmanwori, because when you got the head coach saying, yeah, he's like Kyle Hamilton and Cam Chancellor, as before he's even taken a snap in the NFL, that's not really taking it slow. and so
that's speed dating, man.
It is, absolutely. I mean, yeah, pick sixes, coming up with interceptions, playing with the crowd. I mean, you'd think he was a 3-time All-Pro. And this isn't like saying he's arrogant. I'm saying this is fantastic. And he's instantly just injected juice into that defense. He is by far the player I'm most excited to see when the pads come on, or when they're already on. But, when the TV's on, or when they take the field for real against a team of not wearing Seahawks colors, because it's just a true unique talent, and big nickel, and outside linebacker, just making tackles off the edge on a stretch run, and then interceptions. I mean, this is about as excited as I've been about to watch the Seahawks safety since that man that was in the Legion of Boom, Cam Chancellor.
When we come back, we're going to hear a little bit more about Nick Emmanwori from one of his teammates who has to go against him on the practice field. And they've had some pretty good moments clashing against each other on run plays. We'll be chatting with Jake Bobo from the VMAC and getting to hear from the third-year receiver. That's coming up next here on our Blue Friday edition of Locked On Seahawks. This episode is brought your way by our friends at 5 Hour Energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. I've never actually golfed. Nick golfs religiously, but I'm an avid mini golfer. I love the trick shot. Back in the day at Wisconsin Dells, banked a shot off the Pirates' mustache. I was inspired by Happy Gilmore, caromed into the wall on the other side and bounced into the hole for a hole-in-one. Golf is all about the good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The great ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the beverage cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com. Whoopsie, we have a frozen screen. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. This code is not good on subscription orders. Welcome back to the Blue Friday edition of Locked On Seahawks. I'm Corbin Smith. He's Nick Lee. A special thanks to each and every one of the 12s tuning in. And thank you, as always, for making Locked On Seahawks your first listen 5 days a week. We greatly appreciate it. Heading into the 2025 season, there's a lot of new faces in the Seahawks receiving corps, but one who is not a new face and has a real opportunity to maybe have the biggest role of his entire career to this point is Jake Bobo. And Nick, he's kind of been a curiosity the first 2 years. He's been on the roster. We've seen a few big catches. There's been a few games where he's really shown up. He's been a good special teams player, one of the highest ranked run blockers his rookie season among non-tight ends and offensive linemen. There's a lot of things he's done well, but he hasn't taken that next step where he's really been a consistent number 3 or number 4 receiver. It feels like this is the offense, and he talked to me about it a little bit today. This feels like the offense that is going to bring out that potential in him and really maximize what he's good at with his size, his route running, and his soft hands.
Right. And when Jake Bobo kind of, burst onto the scene, part of me was like, the more Bobo thing. And I was like, is this a bit? Like, is this something that's really real and truly, something of substance in football? And every single year he has built on top of that. Yes, it's the fan favorite. It's how is this guy? How does he keep doing this? His 40 time was approximately 3.7 years. I don't know exactly what it was, but he's built on top of it. And now this is a real thing. he's running routes. He had a pretty heavy workload day the other day in training camp, catching passes. Like you said, a really good run blocker. And in this kind of offense, you need receivers that are gonna, if you want the rock, you got to block. And I think Jake Bobo really emulates that. And it just brings that attitude, the coach's best friend on the field kind of guy. And in special teams too. He's not just a receiver, but I think this year more than any other year truly feels real. Like Jake Bobo is a true asset to this team.
Yeah, he really is. And I'm looking forward to seeing in a game setting how Klint Kubiak uses him, because I just have a feeling this is going to be a Klint Kubiak style player. He is going to be the kind of guy that he does that dirty work to get your run game going. He moves the chains. He'll catch you off guard occasionally and find a way to get downfield with his galloping running style, and he'll get open, and he can use his body to shield guys off. That is a big strength for him. I had a chance to catch up with Jake at the VMAC today. Always one of my favorite interviews.
How was the offseason for you, good sir?
It was good. It was good. Got some sun. Was down in Florida for a little while. Was down in Carolina some. Went back home to Boston, so I was kind of all over the place, but it was good. It was good.
Second straight year, you got a new offense that you've got to learn with Klint Kubiak. What's that process been like for you, and how do you see this offense fitting your skill set? I personally, looking at Klint Kubiak's history, I just think this offense just screams Jake Bobo.
Right. Well, I mean, the good news is we got a ton of playmakers in the receiver room. So to be honest with you, I mean, the offense kind of fits anybody. Like, the offense will scheme you up to get open. At the end of the day, all you have to do is catch the ball and go make plays. But yeah, man, I mean, 3 offenses in 3 years. I've gotten pretty good at learning new offenses. And Klint's is no different. I mean, his is definitely more West Coast, a lot of tags, a lot of verbiage in the play calls, which is honestly makes your job easier as a receiver. But yeah, man, I mean, it's been good. Just got to, write it down, draw it out, and then walk it through, and you'll be all right.
Delve into this a little deeper. What makes it that this is a system where any receiver can thrive? Because not all offenses are that way.
It's true. I think, well, number one, it starts with the run game. So anybody who's going to be willing to block and go get their nose dirty is going to benefit them, because then the pass game just stems right off of that. Whether it's play action, drop back, kind of all our stems look very, very similar to, we're going to dig out a safety. Just kidding, I'm running a corner route, or just kidding, I'm running an over route, whatever it is. I mean, it's everything's very married up and synced up to where, I mean, you kind of just have to do what you're told, and good things will happen.
It seems like this is an offense where receivers are almost positionless to an extent, based on what I've seen out here. It seems like you guys are moving all over the place, and I have to think for a guy like you that likes to get after as a blocker, the chance to sometimes get in the slot and dig into some of the bigger defenders, like that's got to be one of the real highlights of this system.
100%. And honestly, it makes the offense easier to learn if you have to learn all of the positions, because then you're learning conceptually and you're looking at diagrams and not necessarily just learning one position. But you're right. Being able to go in there in the slot and bang around with big nickels and safeties down there in the box with the big boys, that's a lot of fun.
And you get some really fun experiences with this particular team in that regard, especially Nick Emmanwori. I know they listed him. Maybe my eyes are going down on me, but they listed him at 6'3" at the combine. I'm like, did they have a hole in the ground when they measured him? Because you have to go against him, and Julian Love sometimes comes down there. D'Anthony Bell
down in there sometimes. I mean, yeah, Nick is a problem at big nickel, because you're right. Like he is, he's tall. I think the bigger issue for me is I don't care how tall you are, is that he's big. Dude is dense. And makes things really hard on you trying to block him in the run game. I mean, we throw pads on, and I had some good collisions with him just yesterday.
That's why I asked about it. That's a couple of those, yeah.
So I mean, that's always fun, man. He's a great kid, and he's working hard, and you can tell he wants to be involved and he wants to learn. And I mean, it's a great defense and a great scheme, and he's got a great room to learn from. So I couldn't really think of a better situation for him. But I'm a big fan of his when I don't have to block him.
Yeah, it makes you better too. Yeah, absolutely. Gino was your quarterback, obviously, the last 2 years. Now you get the Sam Darnold experience. What has it been like getting to know him on and off the field, and how do you see his skill set? I've gotten different answers from a couple of the receivers, but how do you see his skill set fitting this offense, meshing with this offense?
Well, I mean, first things first, he can throw the ball all over the field. There's not a spot on the field that he can't put the ball where it won't be complete. So when you're thinking about rollouts and play action stuff, if I'm rolling right, he can just turn around and throw it to the left sideline if he needs to. And so that'll help us just spread the field. And there's no defensive back is safe knowing that Sam's rolling left. All right, well, I'm on the far right side. I can kind of take a play off here. Definitely not the case with Sammy D back there. He's a great dude, which obviously you want in your quarterback. He's taking control of the offensive unit from the day he stepped in here. We knew he was a guy. He's just he's a great dude. He's a guy's guy. Somebody the guys want to follow is a big thing that I've noticed so far. He's doing a great job.
Speaking of being followed, I'll close out with this question, sum it up for you, because when you came in 2 years ago, obviously undrafted guy, you're just trying to scratch and claw to make the team, and then you make the roster again last year. Now, I could say this because I'm 36 and I'm an old man, but you're one of the senior members now of this receiving corps. Do you feel a different sense in terms of responsibility of what you need to do, being kind of a leader for some of these young guys now coming in, like Tory Horton and Ricky White, and even some of the new vets that are coming in that haven't been here in Seattle the last couple of years? Do you feel more of that, I don't even want to say burden, but more responsibility on you?
100%. Which is definitely weird, because it seems like yesterday I was coming in here and just fighting for my life. But yeah, man, it's a different dynamic. No more are the days of training camp where I just have to worry about myself executing and making plays and performing. I got to kind of take responsibility for the room too, which is cool in and of itself. Being worried, I have to perform, I have to go out and make plays, but also I want to make sure the guys, the rookies, the guys younger, like you said, guys new to the building are ready to go. That can go out because you take a sense of pride in now, like you said, more of a veteran presence in that room. It's kind of not my room by any stretch of the imagination, but playing a big role in being a leader in that room. You got to take responsibility for guys either making plays or messing up, screwing up, and getting in the way. So it goes both ways.
What's your biggest goal for you and this team this upcoming season?
Man, we gotta win. We gotta win more games. Obviously, I want to go to the playoffs. I haven't been in the playoffs in my 2 years, going on 3. But I don't think we'll. We got a long way to go. But that's kind of goal number 1 is win enough games to sneak in the dance.
As always, you can follow me on X and Blue Sky, Corbin Smith NFL. You can follow Nick at NickLee51. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On Seahawks on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast to make sure you don't miss a single episode. When we come back tomorrow, we are going to have our first post-game show. It's technically going to be a situation-based football fest at Lumen Field, but we're going to bust out our first post-game show. That will be coming tomorrow. Make sure that you listen in and enjoy the rest of your Friday. Go Hawks.